Say hello to Tom Hanks.
Then I guess this is goodbye.
He's landed in the middle of World War II and a forbidden romance. Parting is such sweet sorrow every time we say goodbye. And coming soon, Whoopi G in Burglar, Michael J in The Secret of My Success, and especially for HBO viewers, Clinton and Nadine.
This is great.
This is HBO and our April movie lineup.
It's early morning in East Africa. And as always, the predators are on the move. It's a drama as old as life itself. The deadly interplay between the hunters and the hunted. Almost everywhere you look on the plains of Serengeti, there are killers and victims. This is the closely interwoven story of the lives of many and the death of some. In the next hour, we will meet all the principals in this drama. We'll observe the different hunting methods of nature's most highly developed predators, as well as the defenses adapted by those they prey upon. The cast of characters is immense, but the story they will act out is as simple as life and death. This is Michael Landon. Join us as we look at the killers of the plains. In East Africa, there is a remarkable place called the Plains of Serengeti. It's the stage for one of nature's most violent and spectacular dramas. During the dry season, much of the Serengeti is quiet, almost empty. But with the coming of the rains, usually in December, the first marching columns of wildebeest arrive, and with them the zebra and the gazelle. These are the advance guard of up to 500,000 wildebeest that will soon crowd this one small corner of the plains of Serengeti. With them, they've brought their newborn calves. Many more calves will be born in this place before the migration moves on again, drawn as always by the enticement of the fresh grazing the rains produce ahead of them. The Kori bustard, so recently alone, now finds itself surrounded by thudding hooves and twitching tails. This huge gathering of prey represents a rich larder of food for the hunters, but it is food that must be selected and harvested as economically as possible. As to the hunted, their job is clear. Simply stay alive. That won't be all that easy. But each has developed its own defenses to counter the predators. For example, the zebra can depend not only on speed, but on the deadly power of its flashing hooves as well. For the Thompson's gazelle, acceleration and the ability to twist and swerve on the run are the chief means of defense. The eland, the largest of the antelope, can rely on sharp horns. The giraffe, with its exaggerated neck, can usually spot danger from afar, in time to avoid it. But cast in the principal role of victim is always the wildebeest. Not only because they have thousands of small calves with them that are easy to catch, but simply because there are unimaginable numbers for the hunters to choose from. This year, thousands of wildebeest, young and old, will fall to the hunters of the plains. Any list of hunters must start with the king of beasts, the Serengeti lion. At this time of year, the lions, and all the other predators for that matter, have been on short rations for months. So this single wildebeest calf becomes a matter of importance for the whole pride. Lions hunt by stealth, first stalking their prey and then surprising it at the last moment. They usually kill by suffocating their victim. The hyena is much smaller than the lion, but no less dangerous for that. Here they demonstrate a significant rule of the wild. The predator that kills the game is not necessarily the one that eats it. Thievery is, in fact, one of the most common forms of predation. There's still a lot of protein on that backbone, and the hyenas who have stolen the prize from the lions plan to have it all. The lions are clearly less than happy. Like many other animals at this time of year, the hyenas have young to feed. Hyenas have a superficial resemblance to dogs, but they're probably closer to the cat family. Even as youngsters, their teeth are a formidable weapon. And fully grown, their immensely powerful jaws can crack even the largest bone. For the lioness, the arrival of the migration is the optimum moment to have cubs. In lean times, cubs often starve to death. But on a diet of wildebeest, the lioness has plenty of milk. And this year, when the cubs are weaned, there'll be meat for all. There'll be meat enough for the leopard, too, seen here in a rare daylight appearance. They're solitary hunters, and next to the lion, the largest predator on the Serengeti. Despite its strong family resemblance, the cheetah is not a true cat. Its claws, for example, are like a dog's and cannot be retracted. It's known for its speed and its quick, clean kills. The cheetah is unique among predators in that it will eat only what it has caught itself. With a family of growing cubs to feed, this mother will need a steady and easily catchable food supply. Happily for her, the Thompsons and Grant's gazelles are arriving in increasing numbers. An instinctive hunter, this cub takes to the high ground. Many of the Serengeti's victims don't look the part, but fierce as these warthogs may seem, they belong strictly among the hunted. It is not to say that every vegetarian is automatically bound to end up as a meal. It's true that a young rhino will on occasion fall prey to lions or a pack of hyenas. But any predator that makes the attempt must contend with the rhino mother, one of the fiercest and most protective parents in nature. The jackal, too, has hungry mouths waiting at home. Jackals are the ancestors of the domestic dog. And while they can be classified as predators, they're more precisely opportunists, sneaking tidbits from the dining tables of their betters. Their meal is most likely carrion their mother has scrounged from a lion or a hyena kill. They are basically scavengers. But they can, when the opportunity arises, take on the role of hunters. And finally, another dog species, and possibly the most spectacular hunters of all. One of the ferocious wild hunting dogs of Africa returns to feed her litter. They're sometimes called the wolves of Africa. for reasons we shall soon see at first hand. And so the roster of hunters is complete. Lions, leopards, cheetahs, hyenas, jackals, and wild dogs. Each with its own method of attack, each with its own typical prey. In a moment, we'll examine the hunting techniques of each one of these killers in turn, from the largest to the smallest. We'll see how each species fits into the natural order of things and how each relates not only to those it preys upon, but to the other predators as well. And we'll find that warm domestic scenes like this represent only one small part of the complicated mosaic of life and death on the Serengeti. The victims have taken their place on the stage of the Serengeti Plains, and the hunters stand ready in the wings. The moment has come to watch the drama unfold. The first predators we'll follow is a team of wild dogs. What they're looking for, literally, is easy meat. The hunter must balance the energy expended in the chase with the energy it gains from the kill. So the dog's object is always to split up the herds and get them moving in order to pick out the old, the weak, the less agile, the very young. Here you can see the similarity to wolves as the three dogs work cooperatively in a pack. The first attempt appears to have failed. The three dogs join forces again and keep up the pressure at a steady lope. They can maintain this speed for half an hour or more. Sooner or later, things are bound to break in their favor. There's a possible target out on its own. Though three dogs could bring down an adult wildebeest, this time it's the calves they're after. Running flat out, a dog can do 25 miles an hour and keep it up for several minutes. Notice how the wildebeest on the fringe of the action recognize that the bell does not toll for them. The retreat is almost casual, but not those who know the dogs are right behind them. The lucky thousands swirl to the side, but one unfortunate pair is cut off. Suddenly, they're almost alone on the plain. Now tactics come into play. When the third dog joins its pack mates, it leaves the calf to them and distracts the defending mother. Wildebeest mothers often put up a heroic defense, but at last she gives up. The calf is doomed. Mercifully, in the case of a small animal like this, death is usually quick. During the hot hours of the day, a partial truce exists between hunters and hunted. But with a litter of puppies as well as themselves to feed, the dogs are likely to hunt both early morning and late evening. So when evening comes, the dogs are on the prowl again. It takes only 3 dogs to panic an entire herd. That's a tribute to their deadly ferocity. The name of the game is safety in numbers. Instinctively, the victims know they must keep up with the herd if they are to live another day. Once again, the victims are quickly picked out and isolated. The whole extraordinary drama takes place like a gladiatorial combat in the center of an arena. Wild dogs almost always attack from behind. Here you can see how it keeps them clear of the wildebeest's horns. Again, it is mother and calf facing the same 3 dogs. But this time there's a difference, and the difference lies in the fighting spirit of the mother. Despite all attempts, the dogs are not able to get past the mother to her calf. Against all probabilities, and the longest of odds, she fights off the dogs until one by one, they decide they've had enough. But she's still not out of danger. If she were to lead her calf away, she might trigger the dogs into another attack. Incredibly, one of her tormentors lies down right beside her, while the other 2 saunter off exhausted. At last, she decides it's safe to leave. Amazingly, the calf seems to have escaped serious injury. For the moment, she's shown that born losers can just occasionally prove to be winners. Elsewhere on the plains, some other wild dogs have been more successful, and a single vulture glides in to investigate the kill. Vultures are another link in the Serengeti food chain. While they are meat eaters, they are not predators. As scavengers, they simply exploit the work of others. A tawny eagle joins the meal. The dogs have worked hard for their kill. They're not in the mood to share. A hungry marabou tries to sneak past one of the guards. Sometimes it takes as much effort to protect your kill as it does to hunt it down in the first place. The economy of predation is very finely balanced. Having burned up a great deal of fuel in the chase, the hunter can't afford to squander his catch. His first order of business is to refuel. In the dog's case, they must also refuel that huge litter of puppies that waits in the den. The big griffin vultures have much the same problem. They nest 80 miles away in the mountains. Even for a soaring bird like a vulture, just traveling back and forth to the plains burns up a lot of energy. but the dogs aren't willing to see it replaced at their expense. If wild dogs are teamwork hunters, cheetahs are champion loners. The cheetah may be the quickest and cleanest killer in all of Africa. This mother has a family of 3 to provide for. The young have reached the stage at which they're able to follow her around with frequent pauses for play. The cubs are small enough to prove tempting to hyenas, so the mother must be constantly on her guard. She manages to ward off an attack, despite the hyena's superior weight and muscle. At this age, the cubs are a considerable handicap to their mother when she's hunting. They insist on following her, and their boisterous play often spoils the stalk. Watch this remarkable acceleration. 0 to 45 miles per hour in 2 seconds. Cheetahs are essentially sprinters. They're the fastest land animals, though no one has successfully proved exactly how fast. Estimates range from 50 to 80 miles per hour. 70 miles per hour is probably close to the truth. This cub instinctively imitates the mother's stalking action as it runs in to join its litter mates at the kill. As always, the wildebeest know the immediate danger is past. They're not even faintly alarmed. She moves the carcass to make it easier for them. Cheetah mothers sometimes give birth to as many as 5 cubs. Breeding takes place all the year round. These cubs are lucky. They're well grown and appear to have a good start in life. It's estimated that up to 50% of all cheetahs born on the plains of East Africa die in their first year of life. As we'll see, life can be as perilous for the hunters as it is for the hunted. Hyenas are the dominant species of predator on the Serengeti and probably outnumber all other hunters combined. They're larger than most people realize and can weigh up to 190 pounds. They live in family groups called clans. Until recently, hyenas were believed to be merely scavengers, living largely off the lion's leavings. But now it's been discovered that they frequently play the part of hunters themselves, and that it is often the lions who live off them. For example, this hyena clan has killed an adult wildebeest. Now watch what happens. First, other members of the clan arrive to share the kill. But then the lions trot up to investigate. Hyenas are far from the craven cowards naturalists once thought them to be. But a lion has them not only on weight, but reach as well. Against such superior power, not even a gang of 20 hyenas is prepared to defend its rightful property. But while the lions steal the kill, at least one enterprising hyena makes off with a souvenir. The best that the others can hope for is that if they hang around, one or two may be able to dart in and grab a similar mouthful. Eventually, the whole pride moves in and the takeover is complete. Highway robbery is an integral part of the hunting scene. Sometimes it works the other way around. These lions have killed a zebra which lies hidden in the tall grass. Now the hyenas try to steal their prize. There are jackals in their tail, and they're equally unwelcome. Like the dogs chasing the vultures, the lions must spend a lot of time simply hanging on to their catch. The crushing jaws of the hyenas are able to deal with parts of the prey that don't usually appeal to lions. In this case, the hyenas get away with 3 of the zebra's legs. Such rivalry helps to explain why there is little love lost between lions and hyenas. Lions are known to kill hyenas. Significantly, they will not eat them. And here are the 2 extremes of African predation. The lion, largest and strongest of the killers, and the jackal, the smallest and weakest, which rarely kills anything bigger than insects, small mammals, and lizards. You might think the jackal was beneath contempt, but this is one lioness that's unwilling to tolerate sneak thieves skulking around her meal. Note again that the wildebeest in the background are totally unconcerned about the nearby lions. They recognize that the lions have killed recently, and that therefore they are not in immediate danger. A good deal of this chasing of jackals seems to be play. Perhaps it is. In any case, it underlines an important difference between hunters and hunted. For most animals, survival is a full-time job. The twin imperatives of finding food and avoiding enemies take up almost every waking moment. But lions, living as they do at the top of the food chain, can afford an occasional moment of relaxation. It's worth noting that the total number of predators on the Serengeti is surprisingly small. In an area the size of Delaware, there are probably only about 1,000 lions, and the population of all predators is maybe 5,000. In comparison, there are at least 1.5 million prey animals. Clearly, the hunted are in no danger of being wiped out by the hunters. Along with all the plains animals, the Thompson's gazelle are now bearing their young. A newborn gazelle can run almost from birth. It has to, in order to survive. On its feet, though, it's conspicuous in its helplessness, an easy target for any hunter. The female gazelle have a special trick to protect their young. They leave them lying hidden in clumps of grass. There, they are relatively safe from predators like lions and hyenas who hunt largely by sight. But a dog hunts with its nose, and jackals belong to the dog family. Jackals are not usually listed among the true hunters. They're more apt to scavenge than kill. But in the amazing sequence that follows, at least one jackal decides it's time to act like a predator. But now look at the normally timid female gazelles. In an equally amazing role reversal, they're actually banding together to defend the youngster. It's as if they recognize that the jackal has stepped out of its class and can therefore be intimidated. The jackal's probably having second thoughts about his new career as a hunter. Finally, the jackal is beaten, and beaten by the kind of cooperative effort often seen among the hunters, but rarely among the hunted. But if the jackal is something of a paper tiger when it comes to predation, the same cannot be said of the hyenas. They are the bully boys of the Serengeti. Hyena clans maintain fierce rivalries with each other, so fierce, in fact, that more hyenas are killed by other hyenas than by any other animal. A party of hyenas approaches a herd of zebra. The zebras recognize that the hyenas are hunting. It shows in their movements and body attitude. Instinctively, each species adopts a rigidly stylized behavior. Now watch how the zebras respond to the hyenas. The stallion places himself between his mares and the potential threat. His defensive behavior is enough to signal the mares and foals to put a safe flight distance between themselves and the hunters. Both sides can read the signs. The hyenas have decided that the prey is too alert to make a chase worthwhile, so they go off to look for easier prey. The easiest prey of all, a newborn wildebeest calf. Why did the mother toss the calf in the air? To wake it up? Or was she really butting at the approaching hyena and the calf simply got in the way? It's a desperate situation for her, but she's prepared to fight to the death if necessary. The calf is about as helpless as a young animal can be. Against one hyena, she might have had a chance, but now other members of the clan are joining in. The menacing stance and aggressive nature of the hyena make it a particularly fearsome hunter. When other clan members join the hunt, the hyena attack becomes a real study in terror. Only when the wildebeest runs for it do the hyenas make their move. A pair of jackals start to harass too. Momentarily, the mother turns the table on the attackers. Right until the end, it almost looks as though her brave defense is going to save the calf. As she tires, she becomes further and further separated from the youngster. Even then, she doesn't give up. The odds finally become too great. But as we'll see, at this time of the year, the hyenas probably have cubs to feed also. So this one young animal dies, that others may live. Of all the predators on the plains, the largest and most famous are, of course, the lions. They are obviously successful, or there wouldn't be so many of them around. But surprisingly, their rate of hunting success is quite low, which may explain why they seem to rely so often on stealing hyena kills. Lions are the only truly social cats in the world, and that fact helps to explain their success. Even a bad hunter can expect to get something to eat, because there's bound to be a better hunter in the pride, generally a female to provide the meat. These are all members of a young pride. As we follow them on the hunt, you'll notice that they seem to have a high failure rate. In part, this can be explained by their hunting in daylight, which is more difficult. But mainly it's because they're lions, and lions fail a lot. But if lions have a reputation for losing battles, they also win the wars. This time, the target would seem to be zebra. But suddenly, there's a new factor to contend with: ostriches. Ostriches not only possess sharp eyes, but a lookout post second only to a giraffe's. Many believe that plains antelopes, such as wildebeest, seek out the company of ostriches, since the birds can see better and further than they can. Certainly, when the ostriches start looking nervous, it's time for all present to be on their toes for a quick getaway. Watch how, when the ostriches finally do get a little nervous, the sense of uneasiness spreads. This scene illustrates an essential paradox that predators must live with. The more victims there are, the more difficult it is to hunt them, since there'll always be someone on the lookout. After all these preliminaries, the attack never materializes. In this next situation, the prey shows quite a different, though equally common, reaction. You might expect the Grant's gazelle to keep as far away from the lions as possible. Instead, they do just the opposite, and actually follow the lions at a safe distance. The gazelle's basic means of survival is a quick getaway. They can take off with the acceleration of a Grand Prix racer leaving the starting grid. so they'd far rather keep the hunters in sight to know precisely where they are and what they're up to. They're so relaxed about this situation that some of them even pause to graze. Now this is a bit more disconcerting. Any prey animal will recognize that these lions are adopting a stalking attitude. The menace is obviously not intended for the gazelle. The lions make themselves small in the grass and wait for something bigger to come along. This time, the lion is close to a point at which the wildebeest can no longer count on their getaway powers. Again, those who aren't the immediate object of the lion's interest would rather follow than run. Notice the gazelles behind the lion. No great panic. They probably sense the lion is a youngster and that he's a sprinter rather than an endurance runner. Here's a vivid illustration of how a sprinter can easily be outclassed over a longer distance. The chase is shot in slightly slowed up action. The wildebeest calf would seem to be no match for a lion. But in a long pursuit, the lion simply runs out of steam, so that even a very small wildebeest calf is able to outsprint it. Against all odds, the calf is united with its mother. Next, the lions try an ambush. The zebra gets away. Lions, even hungry lions, won't follow prey for more than 50 to 100 yards after they make their move. Somehow, it just doesn't seem to be their day. It's what lions look like that gives them their royal reputation. Yet this pride, sleeping it off at a waterhole, is actually doing what most lions do most of the time. On average, they spend 20 hours a day resting. While this may seem to belie the lion's majesty, it is in fact a tribute to their skill as hunters. The pride can catch all it needs in a remarkably short time. It's generally believed, and to a large extent it's true, that mature male lions never get into a gallop about anything. When it comes to catching prey, they usually let the lionesses do it for them. This magnificent black-maned lion appears to be breaking all the rules of male society. Finally, the target of this exceptional burst of energy is revealed, and it has nothing to do with dinner. There are apparently limits to which even a lovesick lion is prepared to go. A lion hunting a lioness is one thing, but a lion hunting meat is something else entirely, as we'll see in a moment. But first, before the lion appears, a pack of hyenas have brought an eland mother and calf to bay, and they mean to have the calf for themselves. The eland is putting up a spirited defense, but she's badly outnumbered. Eventually, one hyena grabs the calf by the neck, thus sealing its fate. Now enter a young lion. After chasing off the mother, the lion returns to the calf. The hyena pack knows that this time it's lost. The lion has solitary possession. Or has he? The new arrival, a lioness, apparently hasn't got the confidence or status within the pride to challenge the possessor for so small a meal. But then, another young male from the pride arrives on the scene. The original thief takes off with his loot. But he's going to have to share it whether he wants to or not. Amid all the spitting and snarling that always accompanies male rivalry at a kill, the lioness judges that the contestants are preoccupied enough for it to be safe to join in. Finally, there are four of them disputing a meal that can hardly provide them with more than a mouthful apiece. The hunters and the hunted. A natural order regulated by its own checks and balances. A system that has worked for millions of years, governed by a rhythm as majestic as Africa itself. Already the grass on the plain is turning brown. Soon overgrazing in the hot equatorial sun will force the huge herds of prey animals to move on. But in time, they will be back. And once again, hunter and hunted will play out their appointed roles in the great drama of life and death. A drama that seems to take on a deeper meaning here on the plains of Serengeti. This is Michael Landon.
Follow the scrapes and escapes of an all-American boy and his friends as the Mark Twain classic comes to life in the animated series, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. Next.
Once upon a time, there was a family, a little uprooted by life. They had a new house, a new job.
I'm not new to business. I just can't imagine things have changed so much in 13 years.
A new school, and a new neighbor.
Found out about the boy next door.
Doctors haven't been able to get a word out of him.
Hi, Eric.
Maybe a friend could.
Eric, get away from the edge! How did you get in here, Eric?
Would you be afraid of a balloon falling?
He can fly.
You know, sometimes we need to believe in a little magic, especially when there's so much pain.
Once upon a time, there was a girl who could dream, and a boy who could fly. Because anything is possible. You just have to believe. The Boy Who Could Fly. Tomorrow.
Be careful.
In the beginning, it was real boring. But then a lot of stuff happened, and there were amoebas and dinosaurs and bananas and pythons and hot fudge sundaes. But something was missing.
Let's make one.
The people cried, and so they got a lot of paper and pencils and hammers and scissors and screwdrivers and crayons and glue and started to mess around. A little pink nose, 2 feet with funny toes, and eyes, of course, 2 blue. Wiggly whiskers, and a horn like a unicorn. Antlers are less preposterous, or maybe one in front like a rhinoceros. Oh, it must have stripes, both bright and pale, and a great big lovely bushy tail. Hey, we forgot ears, the people cried, and they went to bed then because they were tired.
What do they know?
Hold that pose.
Welcome to Fantasyland.
And I am Peter Pallet.
It's an artist's paradise.
I became elm-chanted and do magic with my artist brush.
But an evil emperor poses a threat.
Why is he so bent on destroying the forest?
And that's not all.
Find the painter and bring him to me!
An amazing place, the Elm-Chanted Forest. Today on HBO. There's peace in the forest. The season is spring. And for the Berenstain Bears, that means just one thing. It's baseball season. Little League fever's in the air. And the one who's got it worst is, you guessed it, Papa Bear.
We ball! We bat! We glow! We hat!
He thinks the game is for brother and not for sister. That stardom's not for a miss, only for a mister. And he gets stars in his eyes when he thinks of the fame that brother will earn when he masters the game. So that's why he yelled out to sister quite clear,
We must not interfere with brother's budding baseball career.
but to be a good dad, he should listen to sis.
I don't want this or this. I want this and this.
How will it turn out? Well, you make the call. Just watch HBO when the Berenstain Bears play ball.
On the next episode of Seabird, Tommy, Orr, and Seabird are home safe and sound. But there are others who aren't so lucky.
Icebergs, dead ahead.
Can our heroes rescue the sinking ship? And what about the mysterious iceberg? Or is it an iceberg? Can Tommy, Orr, and Seabird solve the frozen mystery? Or will Graphite pull off this masquerade? Better watch the next adventure of Seabird and find out.
What happens when you mix a pond full of frogs
I am really a prince.
with a lovely princess?
She's the most beautiful girl I've ever seen.
and Eve...